Hey guys, today I'm going to talk about how to put your argumentative paper together. I know I gave you that sample student paper that had the annotations out to the side that showed you what to include in your intro paragraph, all the elements of the intro paragraph, and different possible things you could do when you're thinking about lengthening the paper. But today I wanted to talk about how to order your information. There is a way that you could do that in order to be the most effective at presenting your argument. So today I'm going to argue why bran flakes are the best breakfast cereal option. A boring topic probably, but something I'm sure nobody is already going to pick, and it also is going to prove that you can argue for just about anything. So the points that I brainstormed whenever I was just sitting here thinking about what to write this morning for this video, I was eating my bran flakes. So I came up with these points. That one, they stay crunchy in milk better than corn or rice flakes. I've had both, and that is why I personally prefer bran flakes, because they do in fact stay crunchier longer than like Kellogg's Special K cereal with the rice flakes or corn flakes even. So I might even, to back this evidence up, do a little bit of a study and report my findings. I might buy a box of each type of cereal, pour some milk on them, see how long they remain crunchy for, and then report on that. Or I could go out and probably find a study, because they do conduct studies like this all the time. I could probably go out and find a study that was done, but if I did that, I would have to cite that in proper MLA format in my paper. The second one I could do, backing up just a minute there to that one, I could do an informal poll of my friends and family and just see, which of those they prefer, and maybe ask them why. A little informal interview or something like that would work as a source, a potential source that you wouldn't necessarily have to cite in your paper. My second point here would be that for the health benefit that they offer, they are also the most economical. I think I spent about $3 on a great big box of generic bran flakes. It was 17.3 ounces at County Market. And in that, I get 100% of my daily value of iron. There's 22 grams of whole grain. There's lots of fiber. I could go down a little bit through the list, the side panel of nutritional information, and talk about all of the health benefits that come with the vitamin fortified bran flakes. Whereas, and here's where a little bit of comparison and contrast would come in handy, a box like Lucky Charms maybe is $4+ I think it's even more expensive than that. I don't know. I haven't bought them in a while, but I could go out and look. For way less than 17.3 ounces, certainly. And the Lucky Charms only offer 25% of the daily value of iron. There's a whole lot more sugar in that cereal. And again, for the health benefit that they offer, they are less economical than bran flakes. My third point would be that they are very versatile. It wouldn't seem so on the surface, but you can bake bran flakes into muffins. They can be crushed up into pancake batter. You can add any kind of dried or fresh fruit to them. So they actually are a lot more versatile than people would normally think, maybe whenever they're thinking about bran flakes, though I'm sure a lot of people are not investing a whole lot of time thinking about bran flakes. But at any rate, these are the three I came up with. In brainstorming, I might have come up with several others, but these are the top three that I think I can really make a good case for that would really work well in my paper. Of course, in your paper, you might want to address the opposing side of the argument. And the best thing I could come up with for the opposing side of this argument is that they do have gluten. They're made of wheat, whereas rice and corn flakes don't have gluten, so people with gluten sensitivities would not maybe be able to enjoy bran flakes, but they would be able to enjoy corn or rice flakes. So there is that. And it does make your argument all that stronger to at least recognize an opposing perspective. You don't have to acquiesce to the opposing side. You just could mention it and then say, yeah, they do have a good point here, whoever the they is on that opposing side. Say, yes, even though that side offers this other perspective, and I can see the point in that. However, all of these other things outweigh what they're saying over there. So then whenever you take all of your points and you're deciding how to order them in your paper, you want to strategically place them in such a way that your second to strongest argument comes first. That's because you want to lead in with something that is going to be really strong, really defensible, but maybe not be your most compelling point. Your most compelling point would want to be your third or last point. If you have 4 points, you'd want to make it your last point in your paper. That's simply because whatever the reader is going to read last is going to leave the most impression. So you want to start out with your second most compelling point first, then maybe your least strong point second, and then again close with your most compelling point, just because your reader is going to remember the first thing you mention and the last thing you mention more than anything else, just because that's the way the human mind works, that's the way lawyers structure their arguments, that's the way most people making any sort of, compelling argument try to order their points, because they want people to remember the first thing they mentioned, and they most definitely will remember the last thing they mentioned. So bury, if you have a point that it's a good point, but maybe isn't as strong as the other two, you want to bury that kind of in the middle. So for me, this was just the order I came up with in brainstorming. The actual order I'm going to put these things into my paper, and you'll have to do the weighing in your own mind for whatever the strongest point seems to be. But for me, I feel like point number 2 is going to be my strongest point, because I have a lot to say about it. I can give a lot of breakdown about it. I can provide a lot of evidence about it, about how much things cost per ounce and how much nutritional value they offer. I would say that maybe my third point is my least strongest point, just because a lot of other things are versatile as well. There are a lot of different recipes and things you can make with a lot of different cereals and whatever. So I would say that the actual order in my paper that I'm going to present these things is that I'm going to present my point 1 first, because this is something that I could do and prove in an informal survey that they stay crunchy in milk better than corn or rice flakes, and I can also report my personal preference here. So I would do point 1 first. Then again, to bury that point that I don't feel like is the strongest in the middle, I would bring up my third point, and then I would close with my second point. Now, however, again, you decide to order these is fine, but you'll want to go second strongest. This is assuming that you have 3 points. So second strongest, third strongest, and then save your strongest point for last, just to close with. And somewhere in there, I might bring up the opposing side. I don't know which point I'd pair it with, but I might put it, kind of somewhere here in the middle, just to sort of, again, bury it a little bit, so to speak, where I'm bringing up that opposing viewpoint and then sort of leaving it in the middle and then closing with my strongest point. So anyway, hope you guys find this video useful in ordering your information. As always, if you have any questions at all, please feel free to email me. At any point in the writing process and you have something and you want me to look it over for you, please feel free to email me or turn it in Canvas. So wish you guys the best of luck on these papers. Thanks.